Hi, good afternoon. My name is Randy Sanderson. I'm one of the programmers from the Toronto Jewish Film Festival. I hope you enjoyed Army of Lovers in the Holy Land, and welcome to our special Zoom Q&A. Thank you to Ayala Manelson for sponsoring the screening. We really appreciate the support of the Inside Out Film Festival, the Swedish Network in Toronto, and the LGBTQ+ at the J for getting the word out about our special online screening. TJFF 2020 Zoom Q&As are sponsored by Delaney Capital Management. And we are very lucky today to have with us Director Asif Galay and from Army of Lovers, Jean-Pierre Michel Barda. And I just want to introduce both of them. Asif Galay is the director who was with us previously a few years ago with the Muses of Isaac Bashevis Singer. And we're happy he's joining us with his next movie. And the incomparable Jean-Pierre Michel Barda from Army of Lovers. So please join me in welcoming them to our Zoom. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. I just want to remind everybody that if you have questions, just put them in the Q&A, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can type in your questions there, and hopefully we can get to as many of them as possible. So I just wanted to start by saying thank you so much for this film. It was just a real joy. It was just so much fun to watch. It's so much, it's just fun. Everybody who's watched it has really enjoyed it. Aside from, loving documentaries and liking, as they said in the movie, and seeing yourself on film, what made you decide to take part in this film? That's for Michel.
Well, a good question, actually, because until now, I've always kept my private life out of focus, and for this time I felt that kind of selfish. This was like a very special journey for me, and I thought, well, what a great way to have a memory of the journey filmed. And also I wanted to share the experience because there is so much prejudice about Israel and the country. And I thought this would be a great way to show another piece of Israel than the one that is expected.
And whose idea was the film? Who approached who, I guess? How did it come about?
I approached Army of Lovers. This was my dream since I was a bar mitzvah boy to meet them. I never thought that I will make a film about them, but just to meet them, to see my stars, it's a dream that came true.
Right, which actually ties in well with our first question from Reina Altman. Hi, Jean-Pierre. Thank you so much for your music and your performance. It's always made me so happy. My husband and friends and I danced to I Give My Life at our wedding last year. My question is, wow. How many languages do you speak, and what do you like best about each language?
Well, thank you, Renat, for that question, and thank you for dancing to our music. It's always heartwarming.
In her wedding.
In a wedding, yeah, I'm honored, totally honored. We're honored. I speak French, Swedish, and English, and then I manage well with Hebrew on the street, and that's about it.
That's enough. That's pretty impressive. Great. Our next question is, where does the name Army of Lovers come from? You sort of touch on it in the film, but not. You say it comes from a film, but you don't really elaborate.
Actually, it comes from a German documentary movie about a transgender woman's life. And Alexander was a friend of hers. And so that's how we got to know the documentary. And we all fell in love with the name. It's an amazing name. It's full of this duality between love and army, war, which normally doesn't go together, and it fitted perfectly for us.
Yeah, it is perfect. In the interview at the beginning, towards the beginning of the film, I think the interviewer mentions that you never talked about your Jewish identity. So similar to the previous question, like what made you finally decide to open up about that and bring it on, so public?
Oh, I've always been public with my Jewish identity and my gay identity. I haven't been open with my private life.
Okay.
I mean, magazines were asking to do, interviews at home and everything. And I always said no. I've always had a limit between stage and private life.
So what changed?
Well,
Me.
maybe I'm mature, maybe I'm mature, but also, you know, I planned to make the Aliyah to move to Israel in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned in the documentary, life came in between at the age of 15 and a half. And it took a totally different direction. And so I reconnected with this dream from my youth, and I reconnected with a lot of things. And for me personally, I felt I was flattered, and I also felt that it would be a great memory to have this movie about this journey. And then also I wanted to. There's so much prejudice about Israel and Judaism also, and I thought this was a great way to show another side of the coin.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I get the impression that before in Sweden with Army of Lovers, you were hugely famous. Is that correct? Like you could go out, people knew who you were if they saw you on the street, right?
That's true. I remember, I'll give you an example. I had a moment in my life where I was quite depressed, and we were having a break with the band, and I grew a beard, and I had a hat on and glasses, and I thought, well, nobody will recognize me this way. And I realized that I didn't fool anyone with the disguise. So yes, I've been doing a lot of television here in Sweden also. After we finished the band, so I've done a lot of television with my other profession, hair makeup artist and hairstylist.
So was it a sort of adjustment to move somewhere where you could just walk around and most people didn't really recognize who you were? I mean, you see it in the film a little bit, yeah.
Part of it, but ironically, one of the movie has been on the documentary channel on one of the what do you call it? The video,
like on demand?
VOD.
Yeah.
VOD, video on demand.
Yes, video on demand. So the video was on the documentary channel there, but still, it's not the same as being on national TV, and of course, so there was a part of me that was a little bit critical because I knew that I would give up some of my private life, even in Israel, but it's still in a controllable way. You know, I haven't done anything else but the video and a couple of interviews about the documentary, of course.
And so somebody is asking, how have fans of Army of Lovers responded to your moving to Israel?
Well, only good. What I know, I shared a lot of things on Instagram for example, you know, things that I couldn't do here in Sweden, being the like famous or official person. I worked as a gardener, which if I would have done this in Sweden, they would have said like, we can't hire you as a garden. But so I did that in Israel, and I shared, you know, things. I shared a lot of that in my Instagram account, and also when we did shows abroad together with the band, and I shared that as well. And everybody was really sweet. I mean, all our fans are really sweet. So.
Thank you. Jan is asking, how do you account for the international success of Army within that 3-month period? Early on, when you when Army of Lovers became really successful really quickly in that 3-month period.
What would you actually? I mean, it happens. Everything happens once we had the hits. Everything was moving very fast, and we didn't have much time to think. And we enjoyed, and we had a lot of fun. It was like, you know, you're wishing for something, and suddenly it comes true. And but in the long run, I would say that be careful with what you wish for. It's like, you know, imagine eating your favorite chocolate cake every day, lunch, dinner, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The song that features Shalom Aleichem in it, you talk in the film, you talk about how it was received in Israel, but how was that actually received outside of Israel? In the video.
The documentary?
No, the song.
Israelism. Oh, it did well actually on the charts. It didn't go it didn't do as well as Crucified and Obsession, but it did well.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of controversy even, you know, here in Sweden we had to tackle one of the most popular TV shows that refused. We wanted to have the flag like on the single.
Mm-hmm.
We have the flag in the background, not in the direction it's supposed to be, in another direction. And we wanted to have it the same way on stage. And we weren't allowed. So we had a huge discussion with, yes, we had a huge discussion with this was with one of the national channels. And there was a long discussion whether we should do the show or not. And in the end, we did the show, and because we got to do the song, and that was the most important. And the song speaks for itself, with or without the flag in the background. And the song is it's a tribute to Jewish culture. Mm-hmm. And the problem we had with the TV channel was that they saw it as something that was putting Israel in a positive way, and they didn't see it as Jewish culture. Which was really interesting because the song is not about Israel, it's about Jewish culture.
It is interesting. And what about the film? Asaf, how's the film been received in Israel and outside of Israel?
It's a big success. First, most of the films that I'm doing, it's more about, let's say, highbrow culture, Sol Bello, Bashevi Zinger, Israel,
the comic books,
an alternate comics book. So I never got this. The film is in a lot of festival. We have so many fans, so many questions are asking me. So I love it. It's a big success. Maybe my next film will be also about another pop culture.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what draws you to these. I mean, some of them they're all kind of pop culture in their times, though, you know, like a lot of the people in your films. What draws you to these people, these stories?
I always look for the question about Jewish identity in the contemporary life. This question, how do you deal with tradition, with your identity, with the rules? This is the big question in all my films. Each time it's come from another angle, but somebody asked me yesterday if I could make a film about non-Jewish people. So I said, I'm not sure. I think I never tried it. I know it's maybe other people can do it better, or to do films about more investigated or crime things. I need to feel very close to my subject, very very intellectual to this question about Jewish identity. And this is maybe this is the good side, and also this is why it makes my film a little bit more smaller.
I think it also comes through in your film that you have this like deep connection with and appreciation for the subjects of your film. So I think that comes through.
Yes. Yes.
So we have a bunch of questions coming in. So let me see if I can get to some of them. Michelle, in the film, you exhibited some ambivalence, I think, at times about moving to Israel. How do you feel now about life there, even though you're actually not there right now?
Well, actually, for the moment, I'm in Stockholm, and it's just for the moment. I'm in the risk zone because I have lung emphysema, and then I have my older mother here. So 2 reasons to stay here and waiting for a vaccine. So and there was no ambivalence for me moving. My only thought was that moving at the age of 50 is like somebody told me when I was in Ulpan, the language school, and there was a young kid who said like, well, I get that people do the Aliyah in their 20s or when they retire, but in their 50s, are you nuts? And he's got a point. It's really tough, you know, changing. I wanted to change profession. I didn't want to work as a hairdresser either. I wanted to really try something totally different in life. And it was really fulfilling doing that. So this is just a break. And today, actually, I got a suitcase from Tel Aviv, a friend that came back, and I had all my Hebrew books that came back with me now. I left Tel Aviv in a very bad state. I broke my hip in the end of March,
Sorry to hear
and
that.
I was in the middle of my handling the grief with the loss of my father. So I was in therapy, and everything was just overwhelming. And then the COVID came, and I realized that, and I also lived in a place that was totally fungus infested. So we broke the contract, and I decided the best was to retreat back to Sweden for this period. But it's really difficult being here. I miss Tel Aviv, and I miss all my adopted family that I have over there, and we speak
Tel
daily.
Aviv is missing you.
Trust me, I miss Tel Aviv more than Tel Aviv misses me.
So Glenda is asking, I found Jean-Pierre to be such a warm, sincere person with a great energy. As he said, although his persona was so public, he kept his personal life very private. Is he happy with the film and how he comes across in it, showing some of your vulnerability to the public?
I don't mind at all. I felt Asaf is really such a sweet person, and the whole team were really sweet, and it was so easy, to be myself, and it was, it was in a way, it was deliberating not to have to wear makeup and stage clothes and all that, and to just be. And the only problem was that I'm not used to have a camera not looking into the camera. So yeah, I think Asaf and the cameraman had some hard time that sometimes.
There's that great scene where you're showing the people that you're working, where you're packing the bags and everything. You showed them the video.
It's in the army.
Yeah, in the army, and the guy's reaction is priceless. Like, how are people reacting to you once they find out who you actually are? Because I think a lot of people probably are meeting you not as this persona, right? They're meeting you as who you, a different person. Then you show them these videos. How are they reacting?
Well, it's
by the
actually
way, this guy is Orthodox, and I was not sure that he will allow me, after my filming, that he will say, okay, but I give you a release to be in the film. He became a big fan of Army of Lovers. He have, I think, like 20 grandchildren, all of them singing Army of Lovers right now.
Yeah,
he's a big fan of the group.
And actually, I met him and his wife a couple of months later.
Yes,
Tel Aviv.
they came to the screening. They brought their friends.
Yeah, so sweet.
That's so great. I love it. So we have another question from Marina. Asaf, can you please make a documentary about Dominica's hitchhiking trip to Haifa? I mean, that's long. It's a long trip to hitchhike all that way. That is actually quite amazing. I think
that Dominica just wrote autobiography right now, that she's telling more about her private life, her journey, her 3 marriage. So she wrote a book about it.
That book is just about to come out.
What?
And that book is coming out soon, or it's already out? Do you know?
It's out in Sweden. It's not translated yet to English, but maybe to Hebrew one day.
We'll look out for it. Remind us what it's called.
Sorry, I had to change location because I was running out of battery.
Good, we don't want to lose you.
I forgot, what is the name of Dominica's book?
I Do As I Want.
There you go. Great. So Jan is asking, have you experienced much anti-gay prejudice in Israel?
Sorry, once more.
Have you experienced much anti-gay prejudice in Israel?
On the contrary, I lived in Tel Aviv, and Tel Aviv is a very gay-friendly city. So I don't know if it would be the same in Jerusalem. I visited Jerusalem, and I have a friend who's running a video cafe in Jerusalem, one of the only gay clubs, and it seems, the only time I experienced a hostile feeling was during the Jerusalem Gay Pride March. And this was the year after a girl got killed by an Orthodox
You mentioned in the film, yeah.
so there was a lot of tension, and the whole parade area was with guards, and outside you had the ultra-Orthodox protesting, and that was kind of scary because you can't really, you never know what these people are up to, and that was the only time I experienced something that was negative. But overall, people are really sweet, and I'm really open wherever I go. So no, I only had a very good experience.
Good. So Monica is saying, hello, Jean-Pierre. First off, thank you for doing this Q&A today. My mom got me into Army of Lovers since she grew up with the band's music in the 90s in Poland. I have a question that came up when I watched the film. At one point, you introduced yourself to someone as Michel, which left me a bit confused since mostly everyone knows your name as Jean-Pierre. Did you legally change your name to Michel, or is this a nickname you gave yourself in Israel to keep your life in Israel different from your life in Sweden?
So the thing is, I'm French. I never became Swedish. I kept my French nationality, though I had my domestic address in Sweden for many years. But in my French passport, I'm Jean-Pierre Michel Barda. And when I moved to Israel, I chose to take my second French name as my first name because it's close to Michael, which is my Hebrew name. And so I chose to, since I'm not religious, I thought I'd just keep Michel and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, because I think when you're getting your card at the scene in the airport, you put Michel on that, right? That's the name you go with. Yeah, correct. Yeah. And somebody else is asking, Jean-Pierre, what was the inspiration behind you shouting the Shema in the song Judgment Day? I loved it.
Oh, well, Judgment Day was we wrote the song Judgment Day after we ended our relationship with La Camila, the first girl in the band. And it was a very dramatic split. And well, for drama, with the song, I thought the Shema Israel part just suited the theme of the song.
Katya is saying, hi, Michelle. Which of the Army of Lovers songs is your most favorite?
Oh, wow. That's really difficult. It's like asking which one of your children is your favorite. It depends on the mood and the day. But I mean, there's something for every day.
Good. What about you, Asaf? Which is your favorite of the songs? Do you have a favorite?
Oh yeah, I have the same feeling like Jean-Pierre. Each day, I hope that I will not hear again Tragedy, because I feel that everybody now feel very close to it, and I hope that in Wednesday we'll feel more not crucified, but more something happy like Venu Shalom Aleichem.
But even Tragedy is happy.
Yes.
All your songs sound happy, even though they do have like a lot of meaning in them. Like it's I think a lot of people maybe don't even realize because they're so poppy sounding and happy and upbeat sounding.
I think that's very us also, that to have different opposite themes in one same song, for example, the happy and the tragic and next to each other. But that's life, isn't it?
Yep. So we're getting another question. How big is the Jewish population in Sweden, and why did your family choose to move there?
Oh, wow. My family, actually, my mother and my father met here in Sweden. And my father came here in the 50s, along with a bunch of Italian friends that were looking for work. South of Sweden needed a workforce. They were out of the working people for work. So they invited people from Italy and Spain. And my father just tagged along some of his friends, to meet a blonde. And life's irony, he met a brunette, a French, and fell in love. And so they went back to France, and I was born there, and then my second brother was born there. And then in the late 60s, 68, Paris was a very turbulent city with the student revolts, and it was really messy. And they thought, Sweden in those days was a future country. It was green, a small population, and they thought, what a great place to bring up a family. And my mother was here in Sweden because she was visiting one of her older sisters that got married to a Swede. So she was also only visiting. And then, so this was the end of the 50s. And then in the beginning of the 70s, we moved over here, finally.
Ah, okay. Jan is asking, do you know the members of ABBA?
Actually, I've worked with one of the members of ABBA. I worked with Benny. He has a hotel in Stockholm, and I designed the clothes for the people
and
of the
I
hotel.
stayed in the hotel.
Yeah, it's still one of the best hotels in Stockholm.
Yes, it's a great hotel. They have a really good breakfast. Very recommended.
If we ever get to travel again, we'll go.
And Dominika actually has worked with his daughter for her book, because I think she works. Yeah, so
still Sweden, it's a small country, so everybody knows everybody.
And also in the ABBA museum, I know that I haven't been there, but I've heard that there's they feature us as well.
Oh wow, okay.
Together with
so as a filmmaker, what was us? Sorry, what were you asking? What did you say? Sorry, Michelle.
Sorry. Oh yeah, they feature us in the ABBA museum together with other Swedish acts that became big abroad, like Ace of Base and Dr.
I see. Yeah. Yes. Somebody's asking, as a filmmaker, what was Asaf's experience like making the film and getting to know Jean-Pierre, Alexander, and Domenica better?
Wow, it's amazing. You know, you grow up, you see the star, the people that you admire, and then you become their friends. You eat with them, breakfast, dinners. I went to Dominica's wedding. It's the best of the best.
Well, you said it was a dream for you, right? So it must have been
yes, exactly.
So I also
it's a thing that most of the time I'm doing film about people that already dead at least 10 years, 20 years. So it's very, very unusual.
So did they have more input in the story then, in the filming? I guess, you know.
Input? I don't know. It's the film it's about Jean-Pierre journey. So it's another kind of film. I don't interview scholars or people that knew him. I interview him.
There was a rumor about a new Army of Lovers single. Is there any truth to this?
There is a lot of rumors about Army of Lovers.
There's a lot of rumors.
I will tell you one of the rumors that I like to hear that, and I try to investigate it in my movie, that I heard that Madonna really wanted to sign up Army of Lovers in her label. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to know if it's true or if it's rumor. And I tried to get in touch with her manager. Her manager, his name is Guy Uzeri. He's from Jerusalem. He's a big name in Hollywood music scene. And I tried to, and I asked him, I want to interview Madonna to know. And he told me, no, I admire Army of Lovers. I'm not sure that Madonna, but I love them still. So just people from the music scene know that Guy Uzeri is a big fan of Army of Lovers.
These are good rumors to have.
I know that at the time we were supposed to launch in the United States, and at the same time we split with La Camila, and the problem was that the whole US launch was based on a female lead singer, La Camila, and we're actually a band with no lead singer. We're all lead singers in different songs. And with her gone, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. But there was interest. But I know that there was interest from Maverick, but everything disappeared. There's other connections. We have Kurt Cobain that was a huge fan, and he loved the song Crucified, and he wrote it in his diaries.
Wow.
So, and this, I know that I've seen the page. I haven't seen the pages myself, but there was a Swedish documentary about the song Crucified, and there they managed to find the pages, from the diary of Kurt Cobain. And that's
and I got in touch with the widow, Courtney Love, and because first I got in touch with Bert Morgan, that did he's one of the best documentary filmmakers, and he did a great film about Kurt Cobain. And he told me there is home videos of Kurt Cobain dancing to Army of Lovers, and I thought, wow, will be amazing. So I tried to get in touch with her, and it was very difficult to get in touch, and she didn't want to look for home videos, but maybe for Army of Lovers in the Holy Land #2,
there you go.
We'll do experts. Kurt Cobain dancing for Crucified.
That actually ties in nicely with the next question from Andy. Jean-Pierre, do you actually sing? When you showed a video on your phone to the skater that you were talking with, you implied that you actually sang on it.
Sorry, what's more?
Do you actually sing? Because when you show the video to the woman when you're skating, when you go for the skating, you imply that you sang on it.
In some of the chorus, I sing, but not in the leads. The leads I have my way of. It's something in between singing and talking. It's a kind of a rap, but for the chorus we use mostly chorus people to do the chorus, like most other bands do. The difference is that we write all our material ourselves, and we work with the same people. We work with the same people with the videos, and so we're not like a really traditional band. It's more like a small theater company, and using pop music as a platform.
Yeah, and as far as I can tell, you've never hidden the fact that not all the voices are yours or the instruments are not you playing them.
Absolutely. On stage, we made it very clear from the very beginning that we were doing playback, because I have a background in drag show, and so playback is it's an art form as well. And at the time, we identified a lot with the drag scene, and so we kept doing the playback on stage. And it wasn't until the Milli Vanilli scandal, if you remember that everything had to be unplugged suddenly. And for us, it was impossible, because it was against our, we are not a live band, we are a studio band. So we did a show in England, the Wales show, I think, and you couldn't do a show in those days in England doing playback. It was impossible. But they really wanted us on the show, and we said, like, okay, we'll go on the show, and since we can't do playback, we'll do the song with tape over our mouths. And so we performed the song with silver tape, duct tape, over our mouth, with the choreography and everything, and then we did the interview.
Wow. How did that go over?
It went well. People thought it was fun, and we got the song was played in the show. So
perfect.
But we
do
Top of the Pops, and we were invited to do Top of the Pops, but we didn't because of the live factor.
Right.
In those days, I had a horrible stage fright. So doing live in those days would have been impossible anyway. Today would be different. I know how to handle my stage fright, but I was really happy we stick to the playback.
Yeah. So the follow-up question is, Jean-Pierre, would you be interested in representing Israel in Eurovision someday?
We are working on it. The problem that
you need a great song for that. You need a great song.
Yeah, but you know how to write great songs.
With a great song, it would be an honor.
Yes, with some Hebrew.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
So you're working on that?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe I might be too old for that.
Yeah.
I
What
don't
else
know,
are you
but
working on now? Both
never-
of you, Asaf and Michelle. What do you work? I'll start with Asaf. Are you working on any new films or documentaries right now?
I just finished a film about Sol Bello, and I hope to show it in the next Toronto Jewish Film Festival.
Sounds good. And what about you, Michelle? What are you working on these days?
Well, I'm kind of in some kind of limbo for the moment
Mhm.
with this waiting for the vaccine. So I'm spending time. I will study Hebrew, and I've been thinking of writing about my experience when leaving Tel Aviv and coming back to Stockholm, because it was, a lot happened. But I'm really not a writing person, so I don't know. I might do it for my own.
No, we thought that it will be sketches and writing, something like this, pictures.
Yes, the other band members, Alexander and Dominika, they have published books. And I've always said that if I will do a book, it will be a picture book.
I love it. So we have one more question. How are you feeling, Jean-Pierre? How is your hip now, and how is your mother? She must be very, very happy that you're back in Sweden. You mentioned that you have a brother. Are you two close?
Well, true about my mother. For the moment, the COVID is rising again. So I had a bit of a runny nose, so I couldn't go and visit her this Shabbat. But normally I see her every Friday. We talk every day on the phone. With my brothers, well, they have a busy life. You know, Sweden is not under lockdown, so
right.
One of my brothers is a teacher and works as a teacher, and the other brother is very busy as well. So I don't see them much as well, actually.
Great. My last real question, and I think it's sort of the obvious question, is that Army of Lovers has been together for 30 some odd years, I think. Was that performance in Riga actually your last performance, or do you think you might get back together and do something again? And are you still all in touch with, I mean, it looks like you are in the film, but are you still all friends and in touch with each other?
Oh, yes, we are. Actually, Dominika and Alexander came and visited me 2 weeks after I broke my hip in Tel Aviv, and they were the last people to get into the country. Wow. And they left just before the lockdown. So yes, we're quite tight, and we'll see. I mean, I will never say never. It's wrong to say never, but I don't think I will go back on stage the way we did before. It will be for very special occasions. I love to be on stage, but I'd rather have it to special occasions, and
well, hopefully we'll see. We'd love to see you do that once
for the
again.
end of the COVID, for a big party to the end of the COVID.
There you go. That sounds like a good reason.
My first project is, first of all, to get back to Tel Aviv.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Well, keep safe and healthy, both of you. And I just want to thank you for your film and all the fun that you brought to us for a couple hours. And thank you for taking part in this Q&A. And it was just a pleasure to speak with both of you. So we'll look forward to seeing what you both do in the future. We'll keep an eye on you.
And thank you for all the great questions, really. And thank you for watching the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.